Supreme leader threatens Trump.
Those who are familiar with the politics of the region, they know that the Americans' involvement in this matter will 100% be at their loss. The loss they receive will probably be much more than the damage Iran will bear. If America have a military presence on the ground, without a doubt it will be an irreparable loss. They are threatening us, and they are also clearly asking us to surrender. With an unacceptable language, they ask the nation to surrender. And they ask us to come and surrender, which surprises us. First of all, they should threaten someone who is scared of their threat. The nation of Iran has shown that they does not feel intimidated by the threat of those doing the threatening.
Then why are you in an underground bunker? Yeah, if you're not worried about why underground?
Iran's supreme leader addressed his nation, saying Iran will not surrender. He also directly responded to President Trump. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei made this threat: let the Americans know that the Iranian nation is not one to surrender, and any military intervention on their part will undoubtedly result in irreparable damage. His remarks coming just a day after President Trump called on Tehran to surrender unconditionally. CNN's Nick Payton-Walsh is in London. What more can you tell us about what the Iranian supreme leader is saying this morning to his nation, but clearly sending a message to the world and specifically the United States?
Yeah, his second public comment since this conflict, this phase of the conflict began on Friday. And I should say, yes, while the rhetoric is fiery, it's not the most combustible language we've heard coming out of Tehran. And indeed, irreparable damage, he says, that will be done. He doesn't necessarily say it will be done to the United States bases, for example.
Well, yeah, he means irreparable damage done to his own nuclear program. That's what he means to say, but he doesn't want to be specific because it doesn't sound as good.
In the region. He doesn't, as far as we know at this point, appear to even mention President Trump by name. And also, too, the version we're seeing is a statement that's been read by a female anchor on state news broadcasting. So an interesting set of nuances here, but the words themselves are: let the Americans know that the Iranian nation is not one to surrender, and any military intervention on their part will undoubtedly result in irreparable damage. Those who are wise and familiar with Iran, its people and its history will never speak to this nation in the language of threats, and that of course comes after Trump himself suggested that Khamenei was an easy target and suggested they would hold off killing him for now, and demanded.
Just crazy. Trump is literally, think about this, he's literally tweeting out death threats. Yeah, no, really, like, he's like, we're not going to kill you for now, but we can. We can do this.
Unconditional surrender. Now, I think many long-term observers of Iran would say to you that it's highly unlikely at any stage you would hear the Ayatollah or anyone in his security circle accept the notion of unconditional surrender, and how, of course, will that even practically occur with Israeli jets in the sky. But this statement, I think, it's clearly putting Iran in a position where it's not about to suddenly kowtow to any specific American demand. It is clearly not looking publicly here or beseeching America for some kind of diplomatic off-ramp. But you've got to bear in mind too, Sarah, the position and condition Iran is currently in. A significant part of its military and indeed nuclear scientists having been killed. That hierarchy.
Yeah, they're dead. I mean, I feel like they're not really in a position to negotiate a whole lot, right? I mean, I would say the United States purposely avoided assassinating Hitler too, by the way. Yeah. How are these countries so delusional? He's not delusional. He's just trying to look good for his people. That's all. He knows he's cooked. He knows he's cooked. Absolutely.
Gone, disrupted. Even the replacement chief of staff of the military killed in just the last 48 hours. Khamenei himself clearly dealing with the most existential crisis indeed of his career, with the Natanz enrichment plant heavily damaged, according to UN inspectors speaking in the last 48 hours, by these Israeli strikes. And so
cooked how? Well, your own people hate you. You're being bombed by not only a superior military force of Israel, but you're also being bombed by one of the most powerful countries, if not the most powerful country in the world, potentially. They're putting aircraft carriers around your country. All of the people that are supposed to be on your side are offering their thoughts and prayers and then telling everyone else to get out of your country before it's too late. You have all of the people that are part of your military leadership getting destroyed. You're trying to shoot missiles off, and they keep blowing up the things that you're shooting the missiles out of. You're reduced to sitting underground in a bunker, tweeting out AI fucking videos of Israel exploding. Like, yeah, he's cooked, man. He's absolutely cooked. He's done. Like, really?
Looking, I think, at their military arsenal. What indeed do they have left? Some experts we've been speaking to have suggested they have between 1,000 to 2,000 missiles that could hit Israel. They've possibly burned through 500, maybe 700 of those so far. So really doubts as to how much they have left that could be used as a deterrent against Israel, period. And I think that will be dictating a lot of their choices going forwards. They can't publicly give in, but there's not an awful lot potentially, as far as we know, they can do to deter the US and Israel in the days and weeks ahead.
I don't think that America and Israel should listen to anything other than a complete and absolute surrender from Iran. They are known liars. They've been making shit up constantly. All they do is tweet out propaganda. Nah. Total surrender. That's not going to happen? Well, then I guess something else will have to happen. That's what we're planning? Yeah.
Supreme Leader ratcheting up its war of words with the U.S.
Do you want war? No, I don't want a war. Why would I want a war? Like, I don't want a prolonged military conflict. I want a surgical removal of the nuclear sites. Why would we want a prolonged military conflict in Iran? It's stupid. Like, why would you, like, yeah. Of course not. A kinetic removal of the military sites. Exactly.
Morning, the U.S. military now surging its troops in the region. And two sources CNN says President Trump is increasingly warming to the idea of the U.S. using its military to strike Iran's nuclear facilities. Iran ramping up tough talk, as we mentioned just a short time ago. Iran's supreme leader warned that if the U.S. gets involved in the conflict, it will cause irreparable damage. That comes after President Trump said the Ayatollah would be an easy target and demanded Iran's unconditional surrender. Already, the U.S. is mobilizing forces, sending another aircraft carrier to the Middle East, and sources telling CNN the U.S. is deploying more than 30 aerial refueling tankers to the region as well. Overnight, Israel says it launched a new wave of strikes involving more than 50...
I don't know why your chatters can't understand that an air campaign doesn't mean a long war and military occupation. The reason why is because they're stupid. And, or actually, they're not even stupid. A lot of them just don't know anything about what's happening. And I'm not an expert in this either, right? But compared to them, I am. And so a lot of the people that are making these arguments and like saying these different things, if I bring them up and bring up a counterpoint, they're like, well, I didn't know that. Well, yeah, of course. Alerts in Israel soon. I just got a phone notification. Oh boy. Willfully ignorant. Just got a preliminary. Just got another rocket alert. Uh-oh. Missile alert now? Uh-oh.
Jets on Iranian centrifuges and missile production sites, and new before and after satellite images obtained by CNN show the damage that the airstrikes have caused to Iran's military facilities. CNN chief international anchor Christian Amanpour joining me now. Christian, you know, you look at this situation and what we're facing. What do you see as you see all of these things moving into place, the military moving things into place, Donald Trump warming to the idea of strikes? Do you see this going forward, that the U.S. is indeed going to take part in this war?
They absolutely will. It's going to happen.
It's hard to tell. Donald Trump says certain
Everybody
things
knows
and
it's going to happen.
You know, he's making decisions with his closest advisors, and we don't know, sometimes from one day to the next what it will be. But you're absolutely correct that all the signals point to Donald Trump deciding to take part. And apparently, according to what you've just reported, the actual physical preps for such a deployment, contingency plans, so to speak, pre-positioning aircraft and other such equipment that might be necessary appears to be going on from what you've just said.
That's reasonable, though. I mean, they're going to do that with any type of potential conflict. That doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot.
The question, of course, is
it would be irresponsible for them not to.
Ronan Bergman, Maggie Haberman, and the others. It is very clear that, according to their reporting and according to all that we see and hear, Donald Trump is significantly influenced by Benjamin Netanyahu, who has wanted to do this for many, many decades, as we have been reporting. Donald Trump, we hear and we know because he said it, is seeing the successful military operation by Israel and thinking that maybe this is something to also take part in. The question, though, of course, is what is the end strategy and what is the wide goal, and does the United States and Israel share the same goal? Is Donald Trump also...
Partially, but not entirely. Israel's goal is much more all-encompassing with Iran, whereas I think our goal should be just simply to stop their nuclear facilities and get rid of that. Like, Israel has a much larger breadth of its goal, whereas we don't.
So in the regime change, or more precisely, the regime destruction business, as Israel is and as it keeps telegraphing. For instance, when Donald Trump posted that Khamenei, the so-called supreme leader, would be an easy target if they decided to go ahead, that is telegraphing the desire for that political assassination, should they desire to do that.
Of course they're going to do that.
Now, you've seen that Khamenei has responded and done the usual. Iran always says we will not surrender and we will, maintain our dignity, our sovereignty. The issue is with the Iranian people right now. There is a good deal of fear and panic. I have my own friends and family, not to mention others who I'm in touch with there, who are trying to follow instructions. It is impossible to evacuate a city of 10 million people. Just impossible. It's a completely irrational thing to say. So analysts are saying this is a sort of a psyop, if you like, to cause as much panic and chaos and damage to the regime's control right now by threatening, that many people, or subliminally threatening that many people, by bombing in various areas that may or may not have military targets, but also have quite a lot of civilian targets, many, many residential neighborhoods, and also by cutting and disrupting and hacking a current the financial system, where it's getting more and more difficult for Iranians to be able to get money out. They also don't have enough gasoline, even if they wanted to get into their cars, to actually escape en masse, as they are being told to do.
Wow.
So this is the situation on the ground, and the real question is, what is the strategy? What is America's end goal, and what is Israel's end goal, and do they align?
Yeah, those are really good questions that need to be answered. There's also this question that I wanted to talk to you about, because you are...
I think that partially they align, not entirely.
In touch with people in Iran, and you've been covering this region for such a very long time, many, many decades. One of the stated goals we are now hearing from Netanyahu is that not only does he want to get rid of the nuclear facilities that Iran has and its nuclear capabilities, but he is calling for regime change. What are you hearing from within Iran, as Israel is also striking Iran?
Well, I mean, of course they want regime change. I mean, like, it's common sense that the regime said they want to blow them the fuck up and kill all of them. No fucking shit, they want to get rid of them. Duh. Of course.
And sending people into a panic.
Well, indeed, to follow up from what I was just saying, there is quite a lot of panic. Look, we've said it over and again, the majority of the Iranian people are fed up with this government, with this regime.
They don't like it
I
either.
have personally covered the Green Revolution, the so-called Green Revolution, back in 2009, where people actually...
You gotta have some massive fucking balls to go against that government, man. Like, oh my God. Can you imagine that? Because they just go and kill people that disagree with them, right? I mean, it's one of those like crazy fucking like authoritarian places.
came up to me as I was following them with cameras, running through the streets with these protesters in 2009, and they said, Madam, this time it's going to happen. But no, it didn't, because the regime used its police, military, and paramilitaries to crush that protest. I've been banned.
It's another good way to tell if you use the military to kill people that are protesting against you peacefully, you're generally the bad guy. Yeah. You generally are the bad guy.
Ever since for doing those reports on people's desires.
They killed 3,000 people.
So the question is, will they be able to come out now under a hail of bombardment and under the panic that I
said California? I said peacefully, not setting peacefully. That's a very important thing.
Described, because people don't know where the hits are going to happen, even if Israel says they're telegraphing. Remember, Gaza the same. They said they were telegraphing, but many people just found themselves going in circles and not knowing exactly where to go, over and over again being told to evacuate under a hail of bombs and strikes. The second issue is, even though many people would like to see an end to this, do they want to see it? And you're seeing it on their internal discussions and Telegram, although even that is difficult to monitor right now because
you don't know
the disruption of a lot of internet ability there.
Shut it down.
That they're very concerned and not thrilled that this might come, at the end of an Israeli F-15 jet. It is very, very sensitive in that part of the world, especially given what that part of the world and many parts of the world view as, the decimation of the Palestinian people by Israel right now in Gaza and in the West Bank as well. So there are all those complicated things. Then the last most important thing is, who comes next? If regime destruction is the aim, who and what comes next?
Who knows, right? But whatever it is probably better than a bunch of psycho, crazy fucks that, like, whenever somebody dies, they say they're a martyr. I mean, let's be honest, right? I mean, damn, that's some crazy ass shit. And FOMO, what is this? This is another guy complaining. I'll watch this. I'll watch this one. Then we're gonna look at the thing where Trump's actually talking about himself.
Breaking news, President Trump not revealing whether the U.S. will get involved in Iran.
Yeah, well, why would he?
I said it's very late. Yeah. I said it's very late to be talking.
Mr. President.
We may it's
yeah.
I don't know. There's a big difference between now and a week ago, right? Big difference.
And this comes as the Israel-Iran conflict is now in its 6th day.
They know, yeah. Late is the hour, Gandalf.
So this was overnight over Tehran. Video from a semi-official Iranian media outlet showing air defenses repelling projectiles over the city.
The U.S. is scrambling big time right now with more assets to the region, including a second aircraft carrier strike.
I mean, the thing is that, like, I see this and I feel like they have too many planes on that. Because, like, remember whenever they had to turn one of them really fast because one of those missiles and one of the planes it literally just fell off? I feel like you got too many of them on there. Yeah, like that's gonna, I mean, oops.
Group had more than 30 tankers for in-air refueling.
Yeah.
This morning, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is rejecting President Trump's calls for unconditional surrender. This is what he said just a few hours ago.
Iran has never surrendered. Why should we surrender? If they threaten us again, they will receive an irreparable strike.
Fareed Zakaria.
What a fucking retard. Oh my God.
The host of CNN's GPS is joining us now live from London. Fareed, everyone wants to know if the U.S. is going to get directly militarily involved in this.
I love the quote, Trump, nobody knows what I'm going to do.
Conflict. What's your analysis?
Nobody knows.
President Trump is clearly enjoying playing the part of a very unpredictable leader. You know, some people call it the madman theory of foreign policy, where you know, you deliberately make it so that no one can guess what you're going to do.
Yep.
And you're sort of trying to out crazy everyone else. And
which is impressive that he's able to out crazy a religious zealot. It is. That's a lot.
And Trump is doing that, and he's doing it very effectively. But I think at heart, what's happening here is it's sort of FOMO foreign policy, by which I mean President Trump did appear to be negotiating with the Iranians, and Steve Witkoff was due to meet with them. He had been meeting with them. Then Bibi Netanyahu decides to move forward. It succeeds.
How can somebody be this stupid? How could someone be this dumb to really think that the Israelis just bombed them without any type of collaboration at all? Really? How can you possibly believe that?
Wildly, it succeeds, I think, even more than Israelis expected. And Trump now wants to get in on the action. So he's, taking credit in a sense for the Israeli action, but does that mean he'll join in? So far, Trump has tended to be fairly cautious about major military escalations. So I'm going to guess that this is mostly Trump trying to pressure the Iranians to come to the negotiating table with essentially a surrender, which is to give up their...
Yeah, that would be the best case scenario, wouldn't it? Absolutely. Isn't that what you would want him to do? Instead of, it would be better that we just don't bomb anybody and nothing happens and they just surrender and we get rid of the nuclear facility and things move on. Yeah.
Their
that'd be
to enrichment. This was the issue this was appeared to be the obstacle.
Saves money, saves time,
so what he wants is a real win on negotiation. He can say, I achieved what nobody else was able to achieve, and he's rattling the saber for that reason.
Sure.
Now, there's always a danger, a scholar once said there's one problem with threats in foreign policy. They can be very expensive if they fail. It means you have to carry it out. If the Iranians don't agree, then it leaves Trump in a bind.
So we know, just based on the available intelligence and talking to Israel, that it cannot fully eradicate Iran's nuclear capabilities without U.S. involvement. If the U.S. does get involved to try to take out Iran's nuclear capabilities, it would take more than just going in with one strike, right? Just given the
Maybe
depth.
We have to do 2 strikes. Could be 3. Wow.
And the complexities around it?
You never know, in military affairs what exactly might happen. But, on paper, the U.S. has B-2s, the stealth bombers, with these bunker-busting bombs that could probably destroy Fordo. They could essentially destroy the whole mountain. And the entire facility would collapse in all likelihood, probably with just 1 or 2 strikes. As I say, on paper, that is the American capability. The Israelis have nothing like that, but Fordo is not a, hermetic...
30,000 pounds and it can penetrate up to 200 feet into the ground? Oh my God. Just blow up the mountain. Okay. Well, that's where that's where the tax dollars have been going.
Sealed facility.
That's not even the biggest one.
Heat vents. There are entrances. So there would be ways for the Israelis to very significantly degrade Fordo. It would take many, many strikes. But they have the capacity to do that. The Israeli pilots are now flying over Iran as though it's their own territory. There is no air defense of any kind.
Bro, the fact that they flew over that Hezbollah leader's funeral. They had a funeral for the guy that Israel killed, and then the Israel Air Force planned a flight over his funeral. That was low, and it was very low, slow. It was 4 airplanes. Basically the closest thing that you can go to teabagging. Yeah.
As long as they don't have to get to the ground, they can just keep pummeling and hope that you know, as I say again, these things are unpredictable.
They'll eventually get it.
You keep hitting at the entrances, the heat shafts, the vents, and something could easily give way.
It's interesting you say that, Fareed, because Trump in his remarks just a few minutes ago said, and I'm quoting him now, they have no air defense, referring to the Iranians, meaning the Israelis, for all practical purposes, destroyed Iran's air defense system.
Seems
Is that right?
Yes, it's even more dramatic than that, Wolf. They've destroyed all of Iran's air defenses. You remember they did that several months ago after the Hezbollah attacks. But what they've also done is, in this extraordinarily clever move, they got all the Iranian commanders into a room and then struck the rooms, killing.
So they had this crazy plan where they're going to get all the guys that they want to blow up in the same place, and then they blew them up. Whoa! What?
Almost all the missile commanders, which meant that the people who would order a strike on Israel minute the Iranians began striking were all dead. Yep. And so that gave the Israelis a window to destroy a whole bunch of missile launchers. So one of the reasons you're not seeing a lot of Iranian ballistic missiles launched at Israel, fewer than Israel had predicted by far, is that the missile launchers have been destroyed by Israel. So
they're shooting 2 missiles, bro. 2 missiles at a time.
They'd have no air defenses. They also have many fewer missile launchers than they did.
It's really
they still
bad.
have a bunch of missiles, but you can't do a lot with missiles if you don't have the launchers to launch them.
Good point.
How'd they have that intel, though? Do they have a spy? They probably have all kinds of stuff. They probably have all kinds of spy technology. They probably have people on the inside. They probably have, didn't Iran arrest like almost 50 Mossad agents? Yeah, of course. They probably had tons of stuff. Yeah, satellites. They're probably tracking these people's locations from weeks in advance. Crazy how the Taliban is more effective than the Iranian army. Yeah, you're right. Definitely true. And it's sad. Hamas is sending even more and Gaza's destroyed? I don't know. Should we just give Israel these bombs and let them drop? Well, I mean, I think we probably should do it. If anybody's going to do it, it should be us. But if we gave it to them, yeah, I'd be fine with that. Yeah, sure.
Fareed Zakaria, thank you very much. Always appreciate you coming on to give your analysis.
I want to go right now to CNN Chief International Correspondent Clarissa Ward. She's joining us from Tel Aviv. So what are you seeing there in Tel Aviv overnight? Sirens were going off, and there was a lot more activity over the skies, right?
Well, there was a lot of activity and a lot of sirens, but not so many ballistic missiles as we have been seeing earlier on. Roughly 30 missiles last night, 30 missiles the night before. That's a big departure from some 200 missiles on the first night of this chapter in this conflict. So as a result...
Yeah, bro, they're out of juice, man. They're out of juice. Like, just admit it. Like, I don't understand how, in their mind, there's any form of virtue or, heroics in shooting 2 missiles at a time from an underground bunker while you're tweeting out AI videos. Like, really? How do you... there's no...
of that, perhaps you're definitely feeling and noticing a more relaxed posture here in Israel today. And we have heard now the military has made recommendations to essentially allow some semblance of normalcy to begin again, some semblance of reopening the economy. What that might look like is things like people being able to go back to work in certain situations, more shops being able to open. We heard today from Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, basically saying that this gradual phased reopening of the economy and allowing people to move around more freely is what he called a message of victory over Iran.
Oh, it is.
At the same
It
time,
absolutely is.
nobody is completely relaxing, and particularly in anticipation of whatever decision President Trump makes vis-a-vis whether to intervene more forcefully in this conflict. The U.S. Embassy here in Jerusalem has announced that it is closed today, tomorrow, and Friday.
Yeah, I would
no
get the fuck
real
out of there.
official reason given. But certainly the timing is not coincidental, I would say, and also particularly given the fact that many Americans are stranded here at the moment and trying to get out of Israel. It's certainly an unusual time in that context for the U.S. Embassy to close for 3 days. So people waiting and watching and preparing for whatever comes, but certainly a sense on the ground, particularly here in Tel Aviv, that people are breathing a little bit easier as a result of what is believed to be significant damage done to Iran's capacity to launch the
Deputy Foreign. My bad.
Breaking news.
Preparing for whatever comes, but
I clicked and then
it
just had the fucking video pop up. It's obvious that they've been massively crippled. It's obvious.
On the ground, particularly here in Tel Aviv, that people are breathing a little bit easier as a result of what is believed to be significant damage done to Iran's capacity to launch those ballistic missiles, which were coming out in full force just a few nights ago, Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious that they're out of juice, man. They're totally out of juice. They're done. I don't see them coming anywhere or going anywhere with this. It's just not going to happen.